This is something that is very important. It is about being able to handle the difficulties of life, the trials and tribulations that come at you. And being unwavering means that I am a force and that I am a power in my life and that I'm going to sustain myself and I'm going to keep moving forward.
Make me new.
The first thing to be unwavering is first know who you are. Who am I? What do I like? What am I going to stand on? What is my purpose in life? And once you understand that, then you can be firm on it. And that's when the unwavering piece comes in, that no matter what comes to knock you off of this, me knowing who I am, me knowing my place in this earth, no matter what comes that knocks me off of that, I'm unwavering. I'm willing to stand on what I believe.
Like I tell people, everybody's story is just different, you know? And so just trust the process and take your losses. But it's all about how you see it. Like, some things lead to a different opportunity.
Give me armor. Make me new.
But at the end of the day, I want to make sure that I have a strong foundation and I can go anywhere and do anything and make sure that my family's always taken care of.
Save me. I'm drowning. I can't find the top of the water.
We're just gonna jump right into it. I'll start with you, Gary. Your story's amazing. I like to call you our cycle breaker. You came from Washington, D.C., growing up in the 80s. Your parents were addicted to crack, so you were exposed to lots of trauma, violence, family disruption, and things like that. But you were able to escape that and basically escape generational drug addiction and all kinds of things. And you've come here to the good life in Nebraska. So you determined kind of at a young age that you didn't want that for your life. You wanted more for yourself. You wanted more for your family, even though what you saw around you was painful and oppressive and dark. So can you tell us why your story is relevant for youth today in our community?
Definitely. I think my story just gives the youth an opportunity to see that they can be resilient, that no matter how hard it gets, what life you start out with doesn't have to be the one you end with. And so I think my story is about pushing for your goals and fighting on the other side of fear. So that's how I would describe my story.
Absolutely. And Chris, your story is one that parts of it we've heard before. You know, basketball scholarship recipient, NBA hopeful, and at one point you played overseas for a while after college. And then after a while you kind of wake up from the dream and you're back home in Nebraska, raising up your family. You even shared about an encounter that you had with the police one time with some friends. That was interesting. Have you guys had your own kind of interactions with the police that maybe were unfair or, you know, questioned, pulled over, and then let go without any charges type of thing?
I pretty much was taken in every time. I ain't gonna lie. I pretty much was taken in every time, whether it's just, you know, it's not like they had no reason. I probably, you know, had a warrant, of course, you know what I'm saying? Just because, you know, when you're younger, you kind of let those things, you know, like, you know, you don't take care of it. You get the ticket, you know what I'm saying? You know, and then you end up with a warrant, or, you know, with suspended license and a warrant. So that whole kind of thing, driving without a license. So it was always something like that, you know, where, you know, they maybe could have let me off with a warrant or something, but still took me You know.
Yeah.
So, you know, as far as that, and then, you know, there's been some other instances that I probably just, you know, I'm not going to address on the camera though. But you know, I didn't get no breaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes it can be profiling. Sometimes it could be maybe valid.
Yeah, I would say for me, you guys don't know probably that I lived in rural Nebraska. So I lived in West Point, Nebraska for almost 6 years. And we lived in a neighborhood where there was a local cop. And one incident that happened was my wife and I were going to meet her parents down the street for Runza. And I just learned about Runza when I moved here, you know, to Nebraska, but it's good. Anyway, so we're headed out. There's a stop sign here, and the cop's house is right in front of it. He happens to be outside, no shoes on, just cleaning up his yard. And I stop, and then I go through the stop sign. And he stops in front of the car, comes in front of the car, and yells at me because he said I rolled through the stop sign. Now, this is a town of 3,000 people. We all know each other. I was responding to him saying, what did I do? And we went back and forth, and then my wife was the one kind of a little bit more upset than me. So she was going in, and I said, you know what, let it go. Let's just keep going. But weird things like that where there's power and control, and sometimes people take, you know, that control and expand it. So
I know the exact ones that you're talking about too. Right across the street from Little Mill. The
Yep.
GAC, was it the GAC? Is that the
not anymore.
GACC?
Yep. GACC
Yeah,
is the central capital.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
right. That's right.
You've probably been out there and helped somebody out with their game.
I have. I got a couple Scribner. I got a couple players in Scribner, a couple players in West Point. Yeah.
Yep, I coached at GACC as well. So
Word. Oh my God. I think I might have saw you in the gym over there, man. That's crazy.
I told Sydney that I thought it was a little bit like you might have been familiar to me.
Yes, I did a camp out there every single year for the girls and boys over there. Yes, I'm seeing you in the gym over there.
So yeah, you helped out some of those ballers.
Yeah.
They went to state too. So
They did. They won state.
yeah.
So these guys, they don't know your story. I want you to tell me, why do you think your wife was so angry about that?
Well, I think because we've had all these experiences, you know, together, and you can help me if I'm not going in the direction that you want this to go. But partly, you know, when I met her, we initially had those issues. When I proposed to her and I was at UNO playing intramural basketball, I called her dad and he said, you know, yeah, we're going to have to talk about this. I don't know if you're going to be able to, you know, marry my daughter. And because I wasn't white, and they wanted grandkids that had blonde hair and blue eyes. And so I never got that approval to marry her. And so she's very defensive and protective of me in that respect. So it's just, you know, so she was ready to pop off with the cop, and she probably would have been taken down to the West Point precinct. So, yeah.
Do you think so though? Do you really think that she would have been taken down to the West Point precinct had she popped off?
You know, if she kept it verbal, she could have been disrespectful to him, and probably not. If I would have done that, it would have been a different story. So that's true. But I think for her, she could get animated, and I couldn't. I had to be the one to de-escalate the situation.
Why do you think that is?
Because I knew.
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry.
But it's a good question.
I'm curious. I'm really curious. Like, yo, it's crazy. We were just having this conversation in the back, and I'm like, really trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
You know, like, yo.
I don't think she was aware of how it could have changed really quickly and turned into something bad for me.
Okay.
And I'm a prominent individual in that community. At that time, I was the county economic development director, the first African American they've ever had there, the highest paid employee in the county. And so all eyes were on me, and everything's in the paper. I mean, it's somebody's birthday, it's in the paper. So if you do something wrong, it's definitely in the paper. So I had that in my mind, and I had the fact that she may not have realized that it was going to come back on me, not her.
Okay.
So.
Thank you for sharing that.
I think that's a real thing, just to, you know, kind of interject that. I think just as a whole, I do, and I know this is the unpopular vote, and you may hear this a lot from me, that we play the race card a little too easily. And I do believe that as a group, you know, is it, so this is what I was getting at, and this is the reason why I was asking the question, is it, for your wife, you know, her growing up the way that she did, the reality for her experiences, you know, just here, living in America, are way different. She has never seen someone speak to a police officer in that way and receive the type of treatment that we do.
That's true.
So because of that, doesn't make her not racist, or it doesn't make her racist or anything like that. It just makes her oblivious. It just makes her just unaware.
Yep.
And I think that that's really the biggest disconnect that we have right now in this country is just that we are saying there's a problem and people that are acting like it's not. It's not that you're racist.
Yeah.
It's not that you are racist. That's not what we're saying. It's that there's a problem and you are trying to act like there's not.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's really just because of people's own experience. She would never know how police would look at someone in under those circumstances had she not been sitting next to a black man, because she would never see how someone looks at somebody under those circumstances.
Yeah, and additionally, you know, we've been pulled over several times. It's not the first time. When we were dating, I was driving her car. The same thing happened in Blair, Nebraska.
Okay.
Why are you guys in this car? Are you sure you should be driving this car? And then she's experienced everything with me. I bought a Range Rover, which was my first love. You know, in college I had it on my wall. As soon as I had enough money to get one, I got one, right? And then all of a sudden, I go to get the oil change for the first time in Omaha at the Land Rover dealership, and I'm sitting there. I got a backpack. I'm dressed like you. I got a backpack on. And then they say, "Hey, we need you to go into the finance office." Well, why did I need to go to the finance office? I already bought this car. And he says, "Well, I'm having trouble realizing that this is your car." I said, "Well, it's my car. I brought it here today to get the oil change." And what it was there used to be an old lady who purchased it first. She only put like 15,000 miles on it, and then she sold it. And he was expecting her to walk in there because he saw that car, the information, and he thought I had, I don't know, somehow taken someone's car and then took it to get the oil change. It was crazy. So my wife has experienced all of those things with me. And so she has been learning, you know, through that process, but she's never formally experienced it. So I agree with you.
That's good. That's really interesting. Thank you. So, Chris, back to you and your story. Would you say your story up and through college, is that a rare occurrence in the Black community?
No, not at all. I think I am the picture perfect of what every Black kid sees and does, you know what I'm saying, in our community, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's that? I always go back to that same rap lyric. You either slang, crack, rock, or you got a wicked jump shot. Okay. You know, no, those are the only two ways to make it out the hood, or to make it out of the circumstances. So, you know, when you look out your window, when that little, you know, 8-year-old, 7-year-old Black boy looks out his window, he's gonna see cars drive down that got hubcaps and missing windows and things like that, and he's gonna see this nice car drive down that has these 22-inch rims on it and this fresh paint and just washed, and that is his version of success. Doesn't matter what that person did to get it. This is how I make it out of my circumstance, is by doing this. Or you turn on the TV and you see the Justin Pattons or the Terrence Crawfords, or, you know, all these, you know, great examples of another way to make it out of the circumstances. But to someone who just looks out their window, in our community, there ain't no lawyers, there ain't no attorneys, there ain't no doctors. Those people don't stay right across the street. I don't see that car in the driveway. You know what I'm saying? So this is my only scope of success. So what do you get? You get people who want to become, not people, you get kids who want to become drug dealers or basketball players or football players or whatever. And it's just because this is what I see out of my window. This is what success looks like. I don't know nothing else. I don't have the doctor that lives up the street like you do. I would love to be like him, but I don't know what that looks like, you know? Right. So I am definitely, you know, here, you know, out of the circumstances, it was basketball. And that's kind of why I take it so dear. And that's kind of why I just pretty much put my whole entire program around basketball, because had it not been for me, I definitely would have went a whole entire different direction. No question about that. I've seen it happen to a bunch of my friends. I see it happen to kids now. And, that's just a way that I could be able to impact my own community from a way that I know.
Absolutely. So then, talk about just a little bit what happens. I love your story because you talk about how the principles and things that you learned as an athlete, you were able to transfer those into corporate success, and then now impacting the community, working with young children, coaching them, from a young age all the way through to professional, and doing some early childhood educating, having early childhood centers. So you're affecting families, athletes, and all of those things. So talk about what happens when you wake up from the dream, okay? You go to the high school, you get the scholarship, and then the dream dies. You have to come back home. Okay. You were able to turn that around. Not everybody's able to. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I'm sure a lot of people will feel some type of way when I use this diagnosis to be able to describe it. But it's the closest thing to post-traumatic stress syndrome that I've ever experienced. I don't know what that's like. I only could read about it in the book and kind of get some type of high level understanding of what that means. But that time in my life, from when basketball ended and life started, was the epitome of post-traumatic stress syndrome for me. My whole entire life, basketball wasn't what I played, it's who I was. That was my identity. You understand? So if I drop 30 on North tonight, I got all the friends in the world. My phone's blowing up. Everybody wants to talk to Chris, everything like that. If I drop 6 on Lincoln Northeast tomorrow and we take that L, ain't nobody calling me. So again,
Wait, you're talking about points you made in the basketball game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just making
sorry.
sure we know
I'm
what
just
you're
sorry
saying.
for the non-ball players out there. You know where I'm going too. Yeah. So Tom, but just as a whole, it just becomes your identity in every sense of it. Definitely. I was a popular kid in high school. I was a popular kid growing up. I was a popular kid. I had colleges flying out to come see me practice, colleges coming out to see me play, and all these other things. And it's nice, it's awesome. And you think that is because people are becoming to see Chris Kuhn. People like Chris Kuhn, but people like the way you play basketball. And that is the reality of it. And so when all that stops spinning, right, when this popular kid that made his name and made his own image and made his identity off of basketball comes to a stop, and then your phone's not ringing, and people aren't calling you to hang out, and all your friends who you thought were your friends, and so on and so forth, and just all these opportunities and all these people who just was just begging you for just a little bit of time and attention yesterday aren't around today, and you just in this room by yourself. It's difficult. It really is difficult. I really don't even know a better way to explain that, other than that was who I was, and you take that away, and I feel like nothing. I feel like nobody. So it was difficult. To answer your question, I had to rewrite myself. I had to rewrite who Chris Kuhn was. Chris Kuhn is no longer a basketball player. Chris Kuhn will no longer play I will never play another meaningful game of basketball in my life. There's no more championships that I will ever win. This is the reality of it. So now, do I let that define me, or do I find another trophy to get? What's my next goal? What's my next trophy? And so I really just had to set my sights on something different, and that's where all the intangibles of basketball came in. When everybody else came in to work late when I was over at Union Pacific, it was a thing. When I come into work late, I'm used to run laps. When the boss is talking and everyone else is doing something else, if I'm not looking at my coach is probably going to be down my neck in the next 5 seconds. And it's 30 minutes in this huddle, or 30 seconds in this huddle of a timeout, in the 30 seconds left to go in this game. I have to be able to follow instructions to the T and go exactly where my coach tells me to go. So all these, I'll say, intangible skills that I learned through basketball. I'm punctual. I'm a hard worker. I can follow instructions. I work well as a team. I'm a leader. All these intangible skills that I developed through basketball, I was able to pretty much put all that energy towards now putting these intangible skills and basketball skills into the next coming group. And that's been my motivation. That's been my motivation.
Okay. All right. I was gonna have to stop you because you can't tell them everything.
My bad.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So, Marcy, we talk about your journey as an artist in the film, your contributions to the community. All of you guys are fathers. We touch on all of that. So tell me a little bit about, so after graduating high school, you took your gap year, as some of the kids say now. You declined to go directly to college and learned you were going to become a father around the age of 19, correct?
I was 18 when I found out. Yeah, I was 19 when I had my first child.
Okay. So can you tell us about kind of the drive that you had to attain your dreams and kind of handle your responsibilities that kind of rose up in you when you found out you were going to be a father, and how that kind of relates to the Black community, Black fatherhood?
When you're young and you know when you're having your first child, it's different emotions. For one, you're like, I mean, naturally you're just kind of like, cool, I'm gonna have a boy, Sims, but that's not like thinking about actually like living it, it's just a thought, but when you actually do have it, there's certain pressures that you have, and you have your family pressures, you have society pressures, as well too. For me, when I found out, I was like, what to do. I wasn't thinking like, abortion and like that, I was more like, it's my, how my mom gonna react, on my dad, you thinking about them, because, your dad always, he tell you, how you supposed to do things. Respect the women, but also, you're supposed to practice safe sex. And I think often, a lot of times when, we had these kids young, it's because we didn't, obviously, but, the pressures is like this. It's like, then, all right, I'm this age. Now I got a kid on the way. Everybody thinks like, well, first off, you're supposed to either stay with this woman, get married, go get a job, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what you gotta do, you know what I'm saying? That's the societal like pressure. You have to actually like fight for being able to like still keep a piece of yourself, because like having kids, like you have to become like unselfish, and we are selfish, you know what I'm saying? So it's a fight even when you got kids. You're still selfish because a piece of you want to do what you want to do, you know what I'm saying? But part of that is your passion. You want to like, you want to still do your passion because dang, I had my kid this early, but I still want to do this, so you got to fight that. You know what I mean? Like, because people are going to look at you like, man, what are you doing? You should be doing this, you should be doing that because of your situation. You know what I mean? So for me, it was like that. It was like, well, what do you do? All right, first things first, let me secure my future for sure, right? Which is going to secure theirs. Got to start with yourself. You know what I'm saying? You can't help nobody. You know what I'm saying? So, like you said, I did take that gap year, but I always had the intentions on enrolling in school, It was just so hard for me to get out. So I was just like, I'm gonna chill. You know what I'm saying? Like really, because I went to Benson High, man, and my senior year, we had the lowest graduation rate. I think we graduated like 90 people, man. I'm not playing.
I don't mean to laugh. I don't mean to
you-
laugh, but I
We went to Central, so, we was Eagles. We don't even...
Like, though, because it was a period where Benson had to drop down to Class B, bro. They couldn't get nobody to enroll there because it was like that. It was like that, So, yeah, I barely got out of there.
Are they still the bunnies?
Yeah, you still the buddies.
Hey, no, hey.
I'm just
Hold on. The mighty bunny. Ooh. It's not just a regular bunny. That bunny got some muscles in that gym.
Yeah, during sports season. Hold on, the basketball, they're running rabbits. Like,
I ain't saying it. I didn't say it.
Yeah.
But hey, I ain't gonna disagree.
But for sure though. So for me, the first thing I did was make sure I was enrolled, in school. Because for one thing, I know that And like I tell people this too that are kind of like confused. They maybe got like a child, you know, and they haven't even tried going to school yet, you know. And it's like school is a tool also, you know what I'm saying, to get you on your feet. You know what I mean? Don't be scared to take loans. Be confident that you're gonna pay that off, or you're gonna be successful enough. You know what I'm saying? Where you're gonna write that check one day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
It's an investment.
It's an investment. You know what I'm saying? But why not take that risk on this? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, those refund checks help me out a lot. They cover rent.
Yeah.
Big bills.
Yeah.
You feel me? You know what I'm saying? Like in college, like you survive off of that, bro. That's better than working a job, to be honest. You know, because working a job gonna take all your time. Then you don't feel like doing classwork. You don't feel like working with passion, man. It's too much.
How old were you when you had a baby?
I was 19 when I
19 and that. So that's that grant. That's a lot of how you were able to even provide.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, yeah. Also, his mom at the time, you know what I'm saying, she was going to school too. So, you know, it was one of those things, man, where, you know, she would, you know, she'd go to class, we go to class, we making sure we both finished, you know what I'm saying? So, and that's what you got to do, you know. You know, if you lay down, you have a kid with this woman, make sure that, you know, you push her to be as best as she can be as well too. You know, it ain't just about you, because, you know, you want your child to be in the best situation. Yeah. And that's how I felt, you know. And so I had to fight, you know, to keep my passion, my creativity through just staying with it and not let nobody, you know, push the societal views on me. So, yeah.
So explain to me if you guys think it's unique to the Black community. If you have an obstacle that comes up, maybe you're becoming a parent at a teen year, or you are injured while playing ball on scholarship, or you're a first generation college student. Is it unique? Is that a unique obstacle to the Black community, or why would that make it that much harder for someone to, like you said, maybe if you had just gotten a job instead of going to school because you had to provide for your child, why would it be maybe more likely for a Black person to do that instead of, is this making sense? Instead of pushing through? Or
I think support also, you know, like your family barely got through with you, and you having your kid too, you know what I mean? So like you're gonna be responsible for that more than some of these other families where their parents can take care of that kid as well as and still take care of you too. If you know what I'm talking about. You know, we got grandma, got grandpa, you know, and then the generational wealth helps a lot. So, you know, and that's, you know, the difference between, you know, Black people, you know what I'm saying, and other races, you know what I'm saying.
so we're less likely to have that generational
that support,
wealth, that generational.
So you got to go make that money now.
Okay.
You know,
I think he's right, because for me it was a level of fear there. Like, I know if I don't do this, I'm going back to something that I don't want, and I don't want to be that. And that was pushing me, motivating me in school. And I started out with really poor grades in high school. And I went to Montgomery Blair at Silver Spring, right outside of DC, and it was a gifted and talented school, but I was struggling. I was doing enough to go play basketball and run track. And so when I got to college though, and I realized what my parents had been through, and that was my alternative, oh, I'm doing all of this work. And because like he said, it's an investment in you. And so I was focused on that. I'm gonna get a 3.9 this first semester because they're not sending me back. And that's what I thought. That's how I focused on it. So outside of having someone to lean on in the family and say, well, how do I do this? It was just like that dogged focus, like this is mine and I'm not letting anybody take it away.
Yeah. And I love that, because in your story you shared, I mean, you'd never been on a flight, you'd never been to Nebraska, you almost missed the flight. I mean, you only had a backpack for the first semester, is that right?
Yep, the first like half of the semester, I didn't have enough. I borrowed someone else's bed sheets. My parents couldn't afford to send me anything.
That's dope.
Yeah, I wore the same stuff over and over. I figured out how to do that and look cool a little bit. But
that's dope, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. Did you have a comment, Chris?
No, I was listening to the story. That's dope.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you,
like
guys.
mine,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what makes it stronger, man. You know what I'm saying? And when I say us, I don't.
Yeah.
I mean people who come from our backgrounds and so on and so forth. Is it? Hey, listen, if I give you everything you need when you're born, when you first come here, there's no growth in that. There's no strength. There's no, you know what I'm saying? There's no test in that.
Yeah.
Now, if I give you nothing when you get here, and then you end up with everything, it's a whole different. That defines you. It's a whole different. I say, I like to tell people that, and Marcia and I were just talking about this back there. And I know I'm getting off tangent, but going into the whole, Marcia said something that was just dope to me. I'll never let anybody oppress me.
Oh.
Period. Period. You know what I'm saying? So that being said, that's kind of how I look at the way that the system is set up.
Yeah.
I had to fight harder. In order for me to be standing right here in everything I have, I had to work a little bit harder than some other people here,
Yeah.
And that's okay. I don't have no problem with the hard work, but understand you made somebody who will not fail.
Don't you feel like it's important, because you work with kids, to teach them about the hardships, not the success?
I do.
That's where it is, because you're not going to be a success just because things go well. And so you tell them. So how do they respond to that?
It's a process. And I like to think about it as easy as this. If I said that I wanted to get up right now and go take that, go hold that paper that sits on right there, there's a process to that. And because it's sitting right here in front of me, I'm able to kind of organize those processes and those steps really easily in my head. But if I said I wanted to be president, or if I wanted to be an astronaut or something, it literally is the same exact process. It's just not something that you may be able to see. If I said I want to be an astronaut, look up Google requisites or whatever to get into astrology or whatever the case. Go follow that. Maybe if this may be 15 years, 20 years down the line, but the steps are still the same. I got to do it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't get done unless I do it. So basically, to answer your question, is it you can't get. I don't get to DC unless I take a plane, unless I walk. You gotta put the steps in here. You did like this. There's a process in between these two locations, and this is the process. If you want to be successful, these are the things you want to do. These things you got to go through. These things you got to do, and that's all dependent upon your version of success. I can't write success for you. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you want to do, these are the steps that you got to take to get there. What are your steps? But like you said, the journey, that process is what makes that goal so much sweeter. That's what defines success. If I say get that paper, if I say, hey, can you grab this mask? Ain't no success in that. You know what I'm saying? Because the journey wasn't difficult.
Yeah.
If I say 10 years do this, another 5 years you gotta do this, and you gotta take a class and so on and so forth, the process is what defines the success. If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I like that.
I like that a lot too. And what I really like about that is because that's not just unique to Black people.
Yeah.
That's just the process and the journey that we're going to take if we're going to make goals, or if we want to achieve something, if we want to break a cycle, if we want to attain something more. That's the process for all of us. And that's what being unwavering is all about.
For sure.
So, to tie this up a little bit, when we got the idea to do this conversation, it was after the events surrounding Ahmaud Arbery and the unfortunate death that happened with him. Up until that time, which was just a few weeks ago, we've had we've had other incidents that happened: George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and now James Scurlock, even here in Omaha, Nebraska. Would any of you like to share how hearing of those stories in the news over and over, getting closer together, and even just closer to home, how does that resonate to you? What is the first response when you hear something like that? Another person killed that was unarmed, or there's not been justice.
It's infuriating, it's frustrating, and all that stuff, and it's sad to say that it's become the status quo. Like you said, it's another one. It's not, hey, somebody died today. Another one died today. And so it's become the status quo. And so it's infuriating, it's frustrating and all that stuff. But I said, I personally would not let it distract me from my personal goal and my own personal mission, and that is to love everybody. You know, so whether that's what I see on TV, yeah, it makes me upset. And when I need to turn that TV off to be not upset, I'm gonna turn that TV off. Whatever it is, I'm not gonna let that distract me from what I know. My personal purpose is just to love everybody, and that's me. I realize that's not for everybody. Some people are put to fight. Some people are put here to fight. If that is your mission, if that is your calling, if that is what is in you, then fight. But for me, I'm standing on that 50-yard line, and I want to love everybody that is here, regardless of what you look like or anything like that. So, like I said, it's all unfortunate, but I'm not gonna let any of that fuel me into not liking or assuming anything about any broad group of people. I don't, I'm not gonna generalize police. I'm not gonna generalize white people. I'm not gonna generalize black people. That person who killed George Floyd needs to be prosecuted for murder. The person who killed Emory needs to be prosecuted for murder. These forget black and white. Murder is murder. And there's a charge in the United States for that, and I would like to see convictions.
Andy, did you have something?
I was gonna pick up off what he said, and just about not letting certain things get to you. You gotta be mindful of what you let in. So things that you're watching, you're listening to. You know what I'm saying? So, like you're saying, like I try not to, like, I don't watch. This is probably the most I've watched the news since the George Floyd. You know, I try not to just be consumed by it, because to me, I feel like politics is a sport. I feel like music is a sport. I feel like sports is a sport. Like, I feel like it's a game to all of it. So me, I'm a huge conspiracist. So I look at the way that information is delivered to us. When is it delivered to us? You know what I'm saying? How it's delivered. Then I'm like, this is supposed to like make us feel a certain way. I got oppressed triggers, man. I know when they trying to do it. When they drop the movies, it's for me, the slave, the butler, all that stuff. I don't watch it.
Oppressed triggers.
Yeah, it's oppressed triggers. That's how I feel like. And so with this situation and what it,
it makes you feel a certain type of way. So you gotta.
And then like, so, we used to watching it in another state, and then the riots developed, protests and things, and then last Friday we had it happen. Like, actually, an incident happened like in this, in the city, and just in the midst of while we're already fighting, what I'm saying, for George Floyd, but still just fighting for just the justice and just being treated,
The
fair.
fight our grandparents fought.
Yeah, still having to do that.
I kind of, I don't mean to cut you off.
Nah, you good, brother.
I kind of feel I have had a different visceral response to Ahmaud and what happened to him, because I'm a runner. You guys filmed me running at Lake Zarinsky. I run in all white neighborhoods.
And you're a state record holder here in Nebraska, correct?
Right. I broke 11 records at Dana, and I had a chance to. I don't want to dive into all that stuff, but so I got a lot of calls from my black family in DC. My parents always call me when they see something happening out here. You okay? Y'all okay? And they said, be careful out there running. Be careful out there running. So I'm an artist too. I write poetry. I do spoken word. And so that's the first thing that I did. I woke up the next morning and I wrote a poem about him and posted it, and posted his picture next to it. And lots of white folks who are on my feed, they shared it and had questions and thoughts. And so for me, it was a watershed moment, because you had that, and then you had George Floyd, and now you have I think there's 10 or 11 people who died just protesting since that time. And we're just talking about a week's time.
Yes.
Everybody's life is important, right? But right now, it's critical that everyone focuses on Black lives, in my opinion. And so it's a watershed moment, not because we don't continue to do our work and we haven't already been doing it, but everyone else needs to look at themselves and say, what have I been doing during this time? And a lot of people, America's been asleep. So that's why if you have white friends, you got a lot of people that are contacting you saying, what should I do? How do I get in? Which is fine. But you also have...
Is that true? Do you have people contacting you?
Yeah,
I do. Okay. Yeah, I just
What
wanted
book
to...
should I read?
Yeah.
There's racism and slavery. This happened? Some people actually ask me that.
Which we appreciate.
Yeah, and it's not a bad thing. I think it's educational, but it is a watershed moment because it's not what we do, it's what all of America does. Mm-hmm. And if anything's gonna change, they have to realize, look themselves in the mirror, everyone else who is the majority and not the marginalized or mistreated or have all of these issues of injustice, they have a different life. And so it's important for them to speak up. And so while I agree that we continue to do what we want to do, our goals and our dreams, it is important that we make sure that they look themselves in the mirror, the rest of America, and say, yeah, we treated you bad. And so for me, this George Floyd thing, when he died and the way that it happened, I think it impressed upon everyone else in America that they had been making a mistake, that they had forgotten how it was for us to be here, that they asked us to be here. They grabbed us and brought us here. And so to forget what we've done for America, that we've let America slap us in the face over and over again. And you know what we've done? We've loved them. We've said, we still want to be Americans. And so what happened this last few weeks is for them to say, we've made a mistake. And those people that are marching and protesting, they feel that. And I think so it's important that it happened, although I don't want anyone to lose their life. I think it's important that there's action after that. And so that's how I feel. I'm sorry to go on.
No, that's it.
That's it. Absolutely.
It's unfortunate. It's all unfortunate, but to me, it is the right amount. I guess there is really no balance, but it's necessary. As bad as it sounds, it really is all necessary. And I was explaining to Marcy just in the back here a second ago, is that, as long as things are going good, you stay on this path. So as long as if everything's going fine, we stay straight. The minute something bad happens, then we turn. So what that's saying is that change doesn't happen. Change does not happen. You stay on this path until something bad happens. And so, people like to say that, the riots and the protests and all the type of stuff is unproductive or whatnot. But, it is just the way that growth works. Nothing changes when things are going right. So people may have to tear some stuff down and mess some things up in order for change to happen. And do I agree with that? No, because I don't want that to happen. But do I understand that that is the process of change and change needs to occur? Yes, I do.
And I agree with that, and I like what you said about balance. And it almost feels like this might be some of the shaking that's going to start balancing some things out that have been going on for a long time. You guys have covered a lot of really great things. I just want to get some final thoughts about everything we've talked about. You talked about, Gary, us being brought here. And in my mind, when I saw George Floyd, and I'm similar, I don't watch a lot of the news. I don't want to see a lot of the videos. It's horrible. We've been seeing videos since we grew up. I saw Rodney King before I was probably 6 years old.
Before social media.
Yes, before social media. And we drove from Omaha to St. Louis. It was on our TV at home. It was on my TV at my grandma's when we got there. So anyway, I lost my train of thought there. So this has been a long time coming. And when I saw that video, it looked like a modern day lynching to me because they broke because of what we saw and the whole world saw it. And I think it's a beautiful time for some reconciliation, some information, and moving forward. So with all of that said, talking about what's happened here, what's happened in our history, what's happening right now, why is it important for us to keep moving forward? And you guys have kind of mentioned this, but why is that important for us to move forward as Black people, as Americans, while we're grieving and honoring what has happened? But why is it important to keep moving forward?
What would we look like stopping? What would we look like stopping? You know what I mean? Like me and Chris was talking about before, it starts with the young ones. So we got to show them the way, teach them, encourage them in them areas where they can create change, because that's what will happen eventually. You know what I'm saying? But it has to be through the systems, and you have to do the work. You know what I'm saying? Take them little steps. And we have to teach our people to continue to be persistent on the way to success. And that's the way we beat it.
I guess I feel the same way. I think that in everything that I've been through in my life, it's always been stepping stones to a goal, and regardless of how many steps you take back, you continue to push forward if that's what you really want. And so I think this is a microcosm of that. Is we say we want an America where everybody has an opportunity, and that everybody feels like they can have that American dream, and it's not realized yet. So we've taken some steps back, and so now it's time for us to try to keep moving forward.
We have to keep moving forward for the youth, for our future as a generation, for our future as a I'm not even gonna say a race. I'm gonna say a future as a species. We have to continue to move forward. I got a son, and I got 2 daughters, and one day they're gonna have kids, and I don't want them to have to go through the same bullshit that I had to, and that my dad had to, and that my grandfather, and so on and so forth. And so, in order for me to ensure that there has to be change, they can't keep going the same way that it has. And that's the motivation. That is the plan. We can't stop. We cannot stop. I got kids. I can't stop. I want something better for them. They're not going through this.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing with us. We have a clip of the film that everybody's going to see. And then if you'll stick around for some acknowledgments after that, you can get some more information on where you can find out more about our project, find out more about the gentleman here and others involved. And thank you very much.